Free advice.
Free advice.
Free advice.
Free advice.
Free advice. Free advice. Free advice.
I
Free
know you
advice.
want
Would you like free advice? Free advice.
I
Free
know you
advice.
want
Free advice.
I know
Free
you want
advice. Forever. All right, just say welcome again. I'm going to cut this part
Okay.
because it makes us look like amateurs. And by the time we've done 49 of these, come on.
Welcome, everybody. It is the 50th episode of Free Advice.
Let me repeat that. 50th. That's one more than 49th, not one more than 14th.
Yes. I mean, we celebrated when we recorded our 15th episode too, but it was a much smaller celebration, a much smaller affair. Only a few friends, cheese and crackers, you know.
Yeah. But now we got the big 5-0. We're both alone at our apartments. We have no fanfare except for you, however you choose to celebrate when you listen to this. But just keep in mind as you listen along, this is a very festive episode.
Yeah. If you're wearing a hat, just like, know it in your brain and let it tingle.
If you're in a car, slam on the horn.
Right.
Flip somebody the bird.
If you're sitting at home bored, maybe do a little shimmy.
Mm-hmm. Wiggle those shoulders.
Wiggle those shoulders. If you have boobs,
Check
they might
your
wiggle
posture.
too.
Why are you slouching?
I feel like we're allowed to slouch a little during lockdown.
I think when we reemerge, you're going to want to have that head on a string, spine like it's being lifted by a helium balloon look.
Yeah. Okay. So in that case, then be mindful of your posture. Lift up from like the crown of the head, but relax your shoulders and let them just fall naturally sort of down your spine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, imagine yourself being straight, being aligned. What? Like sexually straight?
Our gay audience is like, why do I have to imagine them being straight?
You know what I mean.
I hear enough of that from the world. Yeah.
Aligned
So that's
with yourself,
50.
whoever you choose to love.
Here's a trick. If you ever have to tell someone that you're going to do something in 50 minutes, God, is that, especially over a garbled walkie-talkie connection, that's a really tough thing to say. So instead of choosing the number 50, if that precision doesn't exactly matter, say 51, because then there's no confusion of did they just say 15 or 50? They sound very similar. Just so if you add an extra sound, even 49 would work, I guess. But yeah, that's something that I've taken to doing, because if someone asks you the time and you're like, oh, it's 3:50, then they'll be like, so say that it's actually 3:51, and then they'll get, oh, he didn't say 3:15.
Yeah. Sometimes I find that the syllable, the syllable that you choose to emphasize can be a differentiating factor. Like, as you just demonstrated, like if I was saying 50, I would say 50 or 15, because I'm not saying 15 or 50.
I see.
That was a weird vocal exercise.
That's a tricky way. I know.
I get the point you're trying to make, though. I see what you're saying. Round up, because it's more important that the information is conveyed precisely than that you're 1 minute off, but versus 35 minutes off. Oof, my math.
Here's one. If you're a child and you want to differentiate yourself from the other children who are learning.
Okay, listen up, all the children listening to our episode that's going to be about pegging.
Honestly, this is just a little charm segment. This is just for people to go, oh, that's weird.
Oh,
when I was a kid, I haven't said it yet. When I was a child, if someone asked me what time it was and it was before 40 past the hour, I would take the previous hour and tell them that it was that time. So like, say that it's 8:20, I would tell somebody that it's 7:80, and then they'd be like, what?
Yeah, that's confusing. Why would you do that?
I'd be like, it checks out. Do the math.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's 80 minutes past 7, which is also true.
How devious of you.
I don't know. I just wanted to be different. I just wanted to be seen.
I played a more dangerous and ill-advised prank on my mom once, which I never do anything like this, but like we were sitting at a red light once, and we were the first car, And, sometimes if she's not paying attention and the light turns green, I'll be like, it's green. So one time I just said it was green and it wasn't. She was very unhappy with me. And I understand in retrospect that was not a good decision.
You got to look first, though. Right?
I agree. I agree. Before you just trust a 10-year-old, shame on you, Mom.
Well, and what, you're just gonna start moving forward without looking ahead of you. That's when you look up. I think.
Yeah, that's
true. You don't
true.
move before looking up.
That's true. Maybe she was more mad at herself than she was mad at me.
That's often, I think, where parental anger stems from.
Yeah, I agree.
Pool of self-anger. And here's a little child. Here's a little me. Here's all the things that I dislike about me getting perpetuated into the world past my death. I'm going to make sure that they carry the anger that I have towards myself.
You gotta build that right in there.
Yeah. I used to gasp at my Game Boy when exciting developments would happen in Kirby or Rayman, and my mom really didn't like those gasps while she was driving. She was like, "You can't gasp in the car because it makes me think that something deserves my attention outside of the car."
I do think that's a fair point.
I caught myself telling somebody that when they were gasping at something in my car, and then I backed down. I was like, actually, this is just something that I've inherited that I would like to get rid of. I can be responsible. You can gasp as much as you want while I'm driving. I can handle it. I can trust my senses that,
Yeah.
You'll yell stop or look. There's probably some threshold that I have. Like if someone grabs me and goes, "Rob, stop," then and there's no good reason, then I'll be like, "Hey, you just caused us to swerve." But just a gasp.
Similarly, I hate when songs that are on the radio or whatever, any kind of song has a siren in it or something.
Yeah.
Because then I'm just looking around like a paranoid idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, oh, sorry. This is just like in here for effect because it's like a cool rap song.
Right.
My bad. Right. My bad, guys.
Yep.
Fall into that trap all the time. I forget I'm listening to cool songs.
I can tell you're being a little tongue-in-cheek when you call them cool. Like you think it's kind of uncool or that they're trying to be cool by doing it.
It was a little bit, but it was a little bit more of a dig on me for being like, oh, haha, I'm trying to relate to the kids that are listening to the rap songs and have all the sirens in them. It was a little bit more of tongue-in-cheek on myself than tongue-in-cheek on like, shame on you for having a siren in your song. It doesn't make you sound cool.
Hey, rap is not just for children. It has fully matured since 1979, and Jay-Z's in his late 40s now, and he blessed us with 444, looking back on his life, experiences as a father, cheating on his wife. This is a different genre than the one that we started out with.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
I don't want you to think like it's immature to listen to rap or that all of rap is Lil Yachty. It's not all Lil Yachty.
You are more than right, and you are pointing out a bias that I have against rap.
Like
So
rock isn't just for old people, There's young rockers, I'm sure. I can't name them, but they're out there.
Keep it up, guys. Youthful rockers.
Young rockers and old rappers. That would be an interesting variety show. You get the youngest rockers and the oldest rappers, and you alternate and you have them judge each other's performances, and it's really just about the music and the feeling.
And just like see if they find common ground on different like life scenarios.
Hey, you'll like this, I think. I was looking at a rock the other day.
Oh, I love it already.
And I was like, I was on a walk looking at a rock. And I thought,
what was in your sock?
My foot. And I thought,
okay,
I
sorry.
thought, what's in my sock? My foot. Foot. Oh, yeah. So I thought, man, rock is a type of music. It makes sense. Like it's an element, but we don't have other element. We don't have grass music.
Yes, we do.
Why don't
Bluegrass.
we call reggae grass music? Oh,
Bluegrass.
fuck, there is bluegrass. But why?
Oh, fuck.
The rock's not colored. Why is the grass blue? Probably. I don't know. But then there's not like water music or air music. Those are my thoughts of like,
Listen.
what if the other Pokemon types?
Okay. Well, as someone who is about to release an EP where each song is specifically an element.
Are you trying to start genres? I didn't ever interpret it that way. Are you saying that you're the mother of 4 separate genres?
Certainly not, especially when you put it that way. But I am trying to play with the boundaries. I am trying to play with the boundaries of what belongs in different genres. And although I'm primarily shooting at pop, I am trying to incorporate a variety of influences. And I'm really fucking excited about it. And I do want the elements to be the influences of the song and to sort of determine in a way what is the map here, what belongs, what doesn't. So Fire is the first single, and to me, Fire is like...
This air?
What?
Is that made of air or different than air?
It's different than air.
Okay.
To me, musically, I mean, Fire is like raw power and electric guitar, and we're also going to have live strings because it's like that little like stoking it like ding, ding, ding. So, you know, I'm like rounding up the sounds that to me evoke that emotional space or vibe. I'm just really excited about the prospect of that. So just shameless plug for my music that's forthcoming. But yeah, I like the idea of music occupying these different environments and using different sounds and creating new combinations. I think there are a lot of really interesting genre bending. I almost said gender bending, close, but no cigar. Genre bending kind of musical things where, you know, I was listening to this, or I was watching this episode of, I think it was The Voice, and there was this girl on it in the audition rounds that was like an opera singer and a rapper, I think. It was really, it was just, I mean, it was so unique. It stood out as this just like unprecedented, unique combination that was really fucking cool. Which reminds me of something else I want to share with you.
Please.
So I was listening to, again, the Aubrey Marcus's podcast. A different episode, though. This one was with I believe he's like a dating coach, and I think his name is Matthew Hussey, and he was talking about how to improve your online dating record, basically. And he was one of the methods for that. You know, like how successful you are, your success rate, not record, success rate.
Okay. This isn't tracked anywhere. I was just making sure that I wasn't missing out on a new feature that showed how many unreturned messages I get.
Oh, don't worry. You're the part of your consciousness that beats you up about it will not let you forget.
Glad those metrics aren't out there for the public. Compare me.
But yeah, so he was saying that one thing that can make you stand out in this kind of space, and I think this translates to real life dating as well versus just online, or in person rather. They're both real life, is to showcase yourself as having a unique pairing of attributes. Like, for example, being someone who is really smart and in some very specific discipline, and then also being really goofy, or, you know, just something that makes you more human, something that makes you a little bit eclectic and interesting and makes someone go, ooh, wow, what a like rare combination of these things. And I just thought that was such the unique pairing idea is like something that I think that we all can understand, like, oh, what's attractive about that? Like, oh, this person is this unique, this, you know, made so unique and interesting by the formula of all of their different attributes coming together in this unique way.
Did you know I used to start my OkCupid profile? I no longer have one, but when I did, with contradictions are interesting. So here's a list of contradictions about me.
Ooh, and?
That was my self-summary. and what?
And
it worked. And now,
it worked.
Happily ever after. Here we are.
Amazing.
5 years later, 12 kids.
That's your definition
don't
of
know
your
what you wanna say.
OkCupid profile worked. I have 12 kids.
I got the dozen. I got the discount that Steve Martin talked about. Cheaper by the dozen.
I see. Yeah, I did see that film, I think with my parents in theaters.
I didn't. I read the book.
Sometimes. Oh, I didn't even realize it was a
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, it was assigned to me. It seems like an iffy one to assign to kids, something that
Yeah.
glorifies having tons and tons of kids. Like,
Yeah.
that'd be like assigning a book called like 8 Pounds of Meat about a guy who eats like 8 pounds of meat a day. Because like we do have an overpopulation problem. Why are you glorifying having 12 kids to children? Some kids, read that book and it's like the only book they read for school, and then the seed gets planted in their mind of like, okay, this is how I'm gonna have a good life. Set me apart. I'm gonna have 12 kids. I think it's tough to find women who want to have 12 kids these days compared to in the past.
Yeah. Do you set
probably
out? Do you
harder.
set out to have 12 kids, or does it just happen? You're like, I want a big family, and then you just keep going, and you don't use birth control.
It doesn't just happen, because there's a lot of if you're starting to feel like it's too much, you stop at 6 or 7. You don't just get to 12.
Okay.
You
So
know.
you think that someone's at 6 or 7, and they're like, we have to complete the cheaper by the dozen.
No, I think that people set out to have a really large number. They might not aim at 12.
Yeah.
They might shoot for 14 and 2 of them die or something. But I think that you have that goal in mind of like, this is going to be a really big one.
Right.
Yeah, or it's like unfortunate power imbalances in the relationship where the man doesn't really reveal this plan, and he just case by case keeps like pressuring the woman or guilting her, through some religious belief that you got to keep having these kids. You can't do anything to stop having the kids, and I imagine that's a lot of them. I don't think that the most progressive parents that believe the most in gender equality ever have more than like 6 kids. There might be exceptions, but I think on the whole, the more children you see, the more regressive, the worse this couple is on woke gender empowerment. So,
Wow, what a statement! If anyone
Really?
out there is listening to this and has a large family and wants to tell us that we're wrong and that they're super woke, I really invite that. I don't disagree with you, but it was just a big stance to take.
I think that the people who have fathered the most children in history probably had some of the worst gender politics. Yeah, I think there's got to be a link here.
Okay. Do you think that if we were a more matriarchally organized society, that there would be people would be having less kids?
Yeah, I think that's what happens.
Okay.
As you look at as that shift occurs, I think fewer children are the result. Fewer children come with women's empowerment, because some of the children are something that women feel that they have to do, or they feel like they don't have other options besides making kids that are viable, give them a sense of purpose or, something to do. So
I don't think that's why every woman has kids.
no, but I'm saying there's some number of women that, as a trend in society, it reduces because you give those people other options. And
Okay. So you think it's a product of women historically not having as much choice?
having a ton of kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, the higher rates of the past.
Okay.
Also, expectations about childhood mortality affected a lot.
Right, right. Needing a workforce, not having birth control.
Yeah. Yeah, there's several factors, but those things also lead to women's empowerment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of we're dealing with an Ouroboros here, you know?
I don't. I've never heard that.
You ever seen Adaptation? Nick Cage and Nick Cage?
Oh, you know what? I have, but it was a long time ago, and I have like a totally shit memory for movies. So I never
Well,
remember
the
specifics.
Ouroboros is a snake that eats its own tail.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
mythological
Okay.
creature.
Okay. Right. That cycle of like life and death
Mm-hmm.
and okay. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm on to you.
I think this has been some great episode opening banter.
Yeah. Wow. 50. So festive. Thanks for sticking with it. Thanks for sticking with us for our 50 episodes. Or if you're just joining us, go back, check out the catalog, see what you think.
Yeah.
If you're inclined.
Yeah.
Well, so given that this is free advice, should we give out some free advice?
Sure. What do you want to advise on?
I say we tackle the big kahuna.
Let's tackle it. Give
All
it to
right.
me.
So we have a question from a listener, ButtBuddy.
Ooh, ButtBuddy.
ButtBuddy. All right. So thank you, ButtBuddy, for asking us this question, for trusting us to give you the free and sage guidance you've come to expect from this podcast. Are you ready to dive
Thank you for
in?
keeping those butts company. Yeah.
It's so important. There's so many lonely butts out there.
Mm-hmm. Just cold on a bleacher somewhere without any padding underneath. Yikes.
All right. So ButtBuddy, she writes to us and she asks, I want to peg a male partner of mine who's never played with his own butt before. He enjoys being submissive and wants to take it a little further. I'd like him to play with his butt by himself first before I take control, but I don't know how to approach it. What's a nice way to encourage someone to explore a sexual behavior they haven't done yet?
Okay, I wonder why. Well, first of all, thank you for the question. Good topic. Let's clarify for our listeners. Morgan, do you want to define pegging?
Teeing it up for me.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know that I have the
can.
most comprehensive definition of pegging, but it's essentially when is it, well, no, you go ahead. Cause I'm not sure what genders are built into each side of the pegging equation. If there
I think
are.
it is when a person puts on a strap-on dildo-like attachment and uses that on another person's butt.
Okay. Right.
I
As
don't
opposed to
think that
anal
it-
sex, which is a penis owner.
Right. That is an anatomical penis that is attached and, all the cords are hooked up.
Right.
I think that it doesn't matter. Now, typically, I think it's my stereotype example is a woman doing this to a man.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you could peg. I think you could just
Peg
you
anyone
could
with
go
a
hog
butthole.
wild with pegging. Yeah, because everyone has a butthole and everyone has access to, aside from certain third world countries where we're working on it, everyone has access to strap-on dildos. So
I'm sure there are a bunch of charities you could
anyone.
donate to if you want to support that cause.
Yeah,
Global butt
the,
sex.
the biggest charities. Yeah. So that's pegging, and so I'm hearing the question as, how do you encourage somebody to explore this on their own first?
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think that's an important? Why can't you explore it with them? I guess
Right.
is my first
Right.
question.
Yeah. That thought occurred to me too. Because I am often more motivated to try something new with someone who has more experience, and who I trust. And I think that's the element that's really important coming into this equation for the male partner to trust you and for you to trust yourself to protect this newness and sensitivity.
So I can imagine a response of I think that he'd be uncomfortable exploring this stuff all for the first time with me. Here's I think all that really, this is kind of a catch-all for sexual advice. If you have something new that you're curious about, bring up with your partner, but you're not sure if they'll like it. you could just talk about how it excites you. And then you have to find a way to be okay with them not seeing it the same way, and then giving it some time before bringing it up again. But if you make a case of why, think about, so this is my advice, is to get into your own fantasy of it. What excites you about this? What would be really hot? What about you and this person in particular doing this thing excites you? And then if there's someone who is excited by your excitement, they're probably going to want to try something in that realm. It may not be exactly what you want, but they probably want to channel that excitement that you're showing as you describe these things, and then do something that allows you to capitalize, it allows you to feel gratified by that excitement. So that's my basic advice, is talk to them about your fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the perspective that I wanted to offer as a counterpoint to the trust the partner counterpoint is approaching the subject matter with a partner who's excited about it and who you can trust is a perfectly potentially safe container to do something for the first time. But I also think that I understand where ButtBuddy's coming from in terms of wanting him to explore it on his own first, because it is a lot easier to know how to communicate what you want, and just knowing what you want and what feels good if you try it with yourself first, where there's no one else there, that your mind can feel like it has to shield them from, any kind of judgment or anything. Some where you can just go, okay, well, I've started to touch my butthole on my own, and I at least know that this is the kind of touch that I like initially. Or maybe once I'm more turned on, I might like a finger to penetrate, or I might like using some slightly larger object, or having a little bit of a sense of the territory before you bring it to someone else can really increase your comfort with it, and can also help you know how to talk about it. And so maybe that's what ButtBuddy is hoping for her partner, is that he'll have some vocabulary around it, know his limits a little bit, and be able to answer that question of what you're saying of what excites me about it. Well, I know that when I touch my butthole, this is what excites me, versus I have no fucking clue, because I don't even know what any type of stimulation in that area feels like for me, when it feels good, when it doesn't. And it might feel safer to have some of the groundwork kind of laid before bringing it to someone else. But I like your idea of approaching it.
So this is kind of like a preparatory homework assignment for an experience that ButtBuddy wants to have.
Yeah.
So how do you assign a sex partner some homework? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah. And I think that you can also start with the conversation, as you're saying, of I think the opening thing is that she shares with him what's exciting to her about this idea. And if she's saying he's submissive and wants to go a little further, she can share, okay, here's why I thought that this might be a good next step for us. Here's what excites me about it. Here's the kinds of dynamics that I would like to explore or have enjoyed exploring in the past. And maybe she could even offer throw a few sort of compliments in there of you seem like someone who is really adventurous or open-minded, or whatever traits you honestly perceive about him that makes you think this is the right partner to take this fantasy to. You can kind of weave a very flattering tale about why you're choosing him, why you want his help to
lean into
have you fulfill
your excitement about
that fantasy for you, and why is he the right person to help provide it for you,
right?
And
rather
he might
than
not
saying,
be.
This is just something I need to find a person to do. Be like, this would be so good with you because.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to cut you off. He may not.
And I think that it's important to let yourself be excited by your fantasy, but not hold the expectation so tight that if he says, actually, I'm not really comfortable with that right now, that you're not going to be totally crushed, because that might happen.
Right.
We've talked a lot about this podcast, and Rob always offers the it's okay to ask if it's okay to pass kind of mentality, where it's like, think of it as you're sharing this gift with him of like sharing, here's something that's exciting for me. And he can go, hey, that's so cool for you. It's not for me. And you can still feel like excited that you have that thought and go, okay, I wish that weren't the case, but I'll find someone who's a better suited partner for that kind of exploration. But there's so many pros of exploring the butt.
Based on the wording of this, it sounds like ButtBuddy seems to think that this will be a good thing for her partner, that the partner will like it. So maybe it's just a fear of the chance of being rejected, and in which case I'd suggest like maybe play that scenario out in your head, either by writing it down or with a friend, of like, okay, what might they say if they turned you down? And then how could you respond to that? Like, if you know what you're going to do in the chance of a rejection, it might not be so scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think another really interesting potential thought line to pursue.
Yeah,
I'm like just having trouble finding like the right words. Or maybe I'm just getting too attached to like some perfect sentence that I'm just never going to actually be able to articulate, that I kind of lose myself in it. But the thought experiment that I'm inviting you to also explore is, if, let's say, pegging is a level 5 version of butt play experience, maybe come into that conversation preparing, okay, what's a level 1 or a level 2 look like? Maybe I hold him down and I give him a rim job. I don't know what he likes. I don't know. I don't know what ways you guys have explored the dominant versus submissive dynamic between the two of you. But maybe, sort of building on something that you have already explored and is kind of in the green zone for the two of you, and adding something that's in the yellow zone, adding something that's, maybe if it's the right way, maybe with the right conversation, maybe introduced in the right way, and kind of, gently knock on that door, not ram your strap on right through it. But,
right.
If you may not feel that comfortable, or he may not feel that comfortable exploring his butthole on his own, maybe you can fulfill your dominant role by showing him, okay, here's something that's an elementary way of kind of approaching butt play, or something, something that you did when you were first exploring this. What felt good to you? What helped you to know? And I think trusting yourself, like, again, like I suspect that some of your anxiety about either not wanting to ask him directly to play with his own butthole, or not feeling confident yourself about being his first experience with it, is testing you and asking you to dig deep within yourself and find that confident, strong, divine masculine, not like perverted, toxic masculine kind of, what?
I just like that those are the two options.
Well, I mean, there's everything in between, but I mean, like,
Sure.
You're not going to butt rape him, but
Right.
But if someone wants to lean into their submissive and really be able to surrender, I think it helps to have a partner who is self-assured but also like responsive. And I know that you will be able to be that. And maybe it just takes someone saying, hey, I trust you to be that for me. I trust you with my butthole.
So I'm hearing maybe they offer that if he's going to practice on himself, that she'll practice on some type of a melon that is fashioned to look like his butt that she's cut a hole into. And she'll brush up on her pegging skills so that both of them have recently put in some work and then can show off their new moves to each other.
That wasn't exactly what I was suggesting, but I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I had something else I wanted to say that I'm forgetting now. Oh, yeah, I know what I would recommend. Something that I've heard many people praise, find useful, is consulting an independent list made by a third party of like sexual kinks and experimentation. There's one made by the Pleasure Chest in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's available online.
It is.
But,
it definitely is. It's a PDF on their website. I'm almost sure.
View a link in our description for this episode. If it's not that one, we'll find something else that's comparable. And being able to go over that with a partner, there may be phrases that neither of you have ever seen before that you can discuss your opinions on. Some things you will think are probably outrageous, not for either of us, and you can bond over that. Some things you're probably going to say. So what they have on this list is a yes, no, and maybe column. So things that you're curious about, you go put in the maybe column. Things you get what the yes and the no mean. But there's not guaranteed. There's a high chance that something
can't guarantee anything
will
these
surprise
days.
You. Yeah. I mean, did anyone see coronavirus coming? But there's a high chance that your partner will. I guess, according to some reports, some top health officials back in January actually did see it coming. But there's a high chance that your partner will surprise you and say that they want to do something that you're like, oh, you that. Okay, I'll give that a shot. And that could be fun. So,
absolutely, I think that's such a great suggestion. I love that list. I've used it multiple times, and I do want to specify what are the different definitions of yes, no, and maybe, because I think because I think it is important and it's worth getting into the specific dynamics, especially because it relates to consent. So I think that it's important to say that, like, you're taking your temperature on how you respond to this particular suggestion of a sexual act, like right now. So let's say that pegging is the thing, for example.
Okay.
If pegging,
imagine that's
yeah
in each column.
That's in each column. So if pegging is a yes for you, it's like, ooh, yeah, I'm kind of into this. Like, let's try it. And that's how you feel about it. Versus like, sure. Sure is a maybe. And I think it's important to honor.
It's important the way you said sure. Just that tone, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because I could have said sure. Ooh. Very different.
And then it's a yes.
That's a green light. Like, that's a green light. If the energy to it is fuck yeah, that's a yes. But if the energy is like kind of wavering, that means, okay, this is something for us to maybe talk about. Like, if it's a yes for your partner and it's a maybe for you, then that goes in the kind of, okay, well, let's talk about why this is a yes for you. And maybe that's the conversation about what's exciting about it.
Right.
But
this is a conversation starter, not a finisher.
Exactly. Right. It's not like, okay, I've said yes to this, so when are you going to get on board?
Right.
And if it's a maybe for you, let's have an honest conversation about, okay, first of all, it's not a no. So what's the difference there? Why is it something that you're willing to kind of entertain at all? And what are your fears and concerns? Not coming from the position of you have to move the needle on this, but wanting to understand each other. Because at the end of the day, exploring sexual kinks together is about fun, and it's about pleasure, and it's about connectedness and intimacy. And if it's going to go against those things to just kind of barrel through it, it's not the right it's not the right time. It's maybe not the right person. Whatever. You want someone who takes seriously your responses and really wants to understand you at that deep level and wants to help you go a little outside of your comfort zone. Maybe
you want that.
Yeah.
I don't want to prescribe that.
Sure.
To some people might not want that at the moment or ever,
Sure. So a maybe is something that maybe you're willing to entertain, or maybe like, okay, not today, but let's talk about it tomorrow. It's on the list of things that like you might be willing to do. And a no Go ahead.
I think that a maybe is I'm maybe interested in doing it. Like it maybe would be a turn on for me. And then things that are no, I think are just like, from my perspective, I don't get any, that idea doesn't excite me at all. But
Right.
just because it's a no doesn't mean I would never do it. If it was something just like keeping my socks on, well, it doesn't really turn me on. But if that would excite you, then it doesn't need to be a no anymore. But, I'm pretty certain that it's not like in the maybe or yes category for me. That's how I answer it. So I guess it's good to have a conversation about what question are you actually answering of like, would you be willing to try this or does this turn you on are different questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that comes with or like which dialogue are we having kind of to some extent depends on, okay, if this is a yes for my partner and it's a no or it's a maybe for me, what does that mean?
I think the more interesting conversation is what do you imagine turns you on rather than what are you willing to try?
Yeah, and I guess I would think that depends on the specific person because someone might be right at the starting gate of exploring their sexual kinks and the whole list might be no, 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 maybe no, 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 no.
Okay.
The
the question needs to be modified then depending on the answers you get. You want to get something.
Yeah. Yeah. And experience level is a huge determinant of that too. I mean, if someone had sat me down with this list of sexual kinks 10 years ago when I was 19, it would be a completely different story because I've now had so many different experiences of myself and other people. And it's just a world of difference there. So yeah, I think it is important to be honest and gentle with both yourself and your partner, depending on the experience level. And in the situation of the question that we're answering, I think, because ButtBuddy presumably is the more experienced partner, or, in this one realm, at least the more experienced partner.
Yeah. The realm. Yeah.
That, some of the responsibility for remembering what might be scary about exploring something new falls on her shoulders. And again, why it might be sort of scary for her to be initiating someone into their first experience with something. But if she can get to a place where she trusts herself as that ideal masculine, that both parties are going to feel more comfortable.
Yes. And here's a classic one for butt stuff. If someone's insecure about it, there's a chance that it's because they're afraid of poop, pooping, farting, the bad parts of the butt, or I don't want to call them bad, but the sometimes offensive.
That they don't belong in sexual necessarily.
Yeah.
Even that is a little like potentially yucking someone's young. I think we can safely say that no one here wants to eat shit.
Exactly. Poop is evolutionarily designed to be gross. And if you like it sexually, you're gross and it's okay to be gross, but it's just a gross, that's why we gag. It's like, so
it's something that evokes disgust for most people.
Yeah, it's the whole reason that we have a disgust response in the first place is to stop us from eating poop, because otherwise we would be like, oh, we could recycle the food. No, you can't.
No, it's your waste. It's what came out of your body as this wasn't good enough to keep going.
Right. You can kind of recycle the drink, and that's why it's not nearly as gross as the food, but you can't recycle the food.
Nice. Good synthesis.
Yes. Thank you. So the advice is to try it for the first time in the shower, where if anything happens wrong, you've got a nice stream of water and the soap already there. That's just one trick up your sleeve for, hey, I want to do this butt thing, for undisclosed reason. Like, it sounds nice, but I don't know. Be like, well, I'm about to take a shower. You want to try it in there? Oh, okay. It just might be like, one trick that gets the job done.
Right. So some of what it means, I think, to be a trusted partner is to know what other things might make the situation more comfortable. So yeah, like, where are you doing it? What tools do you have available to you to use for cleanup or beforehand? Deferring to the other person's, I don't know.
A brown pegger.
Oh, a brown pegger.
So that it doesn't show up.
Yeah. So if I may share some vulnerable information, but I think it'll be pertinent, so I don't want to withhold it.
I think great.
Yeah. So as you know, Rob, but our audience may not know, I recently lost my anal virginity. And
I didn't know you were going to say that, but I did know that.
well, you're not, I mean, like, as close as we are, you're not like reading my mind yet. But so I wouldn't have been ready to have had that experience with a partner, I think, if I hadn't, kind of tested the waters a little bit on my own first. But then also, yeah, it's a partnership that is secure enough that I can feel comfortable with that person knowing, okay, they might see something that I'm going to think is embarrassing on me. But they've communicated that it's not a problem for them. I trust them to handle it maturely based on their experience. And yeah, creating that safe environment was critical. But for me also, having explored somewhat on my own first and doing some expectation setting, some finding what excites me about it, like just in terms of physical sensations, like what having to do with my butt at all feels good. And then you kind of build on that, because it's not something where, and I would liken this to vaginal penetration, at least for me and for most vagina owners that I, have discussed this with. The best sex is not going to be, you're sitting there on the couch totally cold and then someone starts jamming something in your vagina. You have to find what's sensual and what turns you on and warms you up first. And then you kind of gently introduce these other things as it feels like, ooh, that might be interesting, versus, ooh, I'm clenching up because I don't really think I want that to go in there right now. And that's something that, can be said of vaginal penetration and anal penetration, where it's like those things aren't going to feel good unless you're kind of lubed up, ready to go, wanting it a little bit. So what are the things you can do around pegging that can amp up that sense of anticipation and excitement in a positive way, versus, oh, I'm kind of tight. I'm not really ready for this. I don't know if I like this yet, but I'm going to let it happen because you seem to really want it. And that's definitely something that happens to vagina owners a lot in terms of many sexual acts. And it's not a comfortable place to be, and it's not something that makes that partnership feel especially secure. So I think it's important to say that and to make sure that you're, lubed up, warmed up, for all senses of the word, especially with prostate stimulation, because I think that's the sort of thing that, isn't going to feel good unless you're already turned on. But once you're turned on and you want it, oh my God, what an adventure zone. And I don't have that much experience, but it is something that I've heard. So
thank you for sharing your personal experience.
Thank you for thanking me.
Yeah.
Do you have any experience or, conclusions from personal experience in this arena that you'd like to share?
Lots and lots of lube and go slow, like you said.
Yeah.
They're pretty much the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and don't be so determined that it has to be the same session that you resolve to do it, that you do it. If that's just not the time, then don't think that it could never happen. If you give up on it this one session, you could tease it or approach it over multiple sessions. Doesn't need to be like same day that you've discussed it. Okay, well, now that we've chosen to do it and this is the time that we're trying, this is the one shot that we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think related to that, I think if you position it as like, we're going to have this conversation where we're going to explore if we want to do it at a later date. And then if you both arrive safely and enthusiastically at a yes, I think it really underscores that point and shows your partner like, okay, this isn't something this person needs from me or demands from me. This is something that we're both willing to be patient about and take time to do correctly. And when you have the space
to feel that way about it versus that something's being like shoved down your throat, it can create much more of a sense of comfort and relief and security in your partner to feel like, okay, this isn't something that they need to do right now and they're not going to leave me alone until it happens, but it's something that they're positioning to you, and you have some time to like sit with it, think about it, have some space to go, oh, maybe this would turn me on. You need that space in order to really like simmer in what could be exciting about it and decide if it's something that you're into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we've covered this very well.
I think we really nailed it right in the pooper.
Yeah, take that, Dan Savage. Who's GGG now?
I only just heard that term recently. Can you?
Oh yeah.
Could you remind me what it stands for?
Oh God, I'm being tested. Good, game, and giving. I think so.
Oh, okay. I looked it up and I feel like it was different, but I don't remember. So, but it was like the vibe. That's the vibe. It's like
giving is
I'm a
definitely
gentleman.
on there. Game is probably on there, and then good. Maybe I made up good.
I have truthfully no clue, which is why I asked you, because when I come across something that I don't know, I try, if I'm in my most secure kind of place, to be like, you know what, I actually don't know what that is. Can you define it for me? Versus being like, haha, yeah, I totally know what that is. I like to treat things as a learning opportunity.
Thankfully, because we're apart from each other, I do have my laptop open, and I was able to Google it.
Oh my God, amazing.
And it's good, giving, and game.
Good, giving, and game. Okay, amazing.
Yep.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good in bed is what the good part means. Willing to give equal time and energy to their partner's pleasure is the giving part.
Very feminist.
And game for anything within reason.
Well, that begs the question of what's reason.
Confident, generous, and open-minded might be a non-alliterative way of restating it.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Y'all learned something.
We all
or you knew
learned
that,
something.
and you're just recognizing me being a dummy for not having that.
No, 100%. No, you had it right.
offhand.
I was the one who was like, oh, I think that's
I did.
wrong. No, you did it. You did it.
You're right. I did have it, but I wasn't particularly good. I wasn't particularly confident in it. Now I'm a little bit more GGG on GGG.
Aight. Well,
Cool,
ButtBuddy,
cool.
thank you again for
Yes, thank you.
trusting us with this question. I think it was a meaty one, shall we say, and I'm really excited to have gone through it and reminded myself of the pleasure chest list, because it makes me want to go back over that.
We're posting that in the description.
Yeah.
Morgan,
It's such a great
can you just
resource.
do one like really fast lightning round, just a tiny toot of a question? Do you have one?
You want to do a tiny
I'll just
toot?
do like one sentence. I just want a little bit more. Yeah, I don't want to go
Okay.
yet.
Do you want to do the one that we talked about or the other one?
Sure.
Okay.
Or the other one, whatever. Either one. Whatever's a tootier.
Whatever's the toot here. Okay. This could potentially lead us to a longer discussion, but we're going to make
I'm
it a
not gonna
little
let it.
toot. You're not going to let it because you wanted it to be under an hour, and we're really we're there.
Hey, we're making it worse by talking about it.
All right. This one comes to us from Dudeimtripin, Reddit user Dudeimtripin.
Oh, okay.
Actually, Dudeimtripin, because there's not two P's, but I'm pretty sure.
Oh, single P.
Yeah. She wants to sleep with other men. Help. Hello, everyone. So I guess I should start off with some back info. I've never been the most faithful guy with my girlfriend when we met. I've never been the most faithful guy with my girlfriend. When we met, we were still pretty young, and I was a virgin with a capital V, and so was she. Well, I ended up cheating on her a few times. All of the times she said she forgives me. Well, now she's saying that it's not fair that I got to experience other partners, and she's stuck with one, and how she wants a hall pass. I don't know what to do. Yes, I messed up, but I got everything out of my system and I want to settle down now. But now she wants to sleep with other men. Should I do it? Should I leave her? I love her to death, but she said if I don't, then she'll leave, and the thought of that kills me.
Tough situation. Thank you for asking. Doesn't sound like you really have a choice. Well, I guess your choice is leave her or she does it and see what happens. which might result in you guys breaking up also. I think that the tough thing that goes against my gut on this is your tolerances and your leeway with each other is independent. Like, you don't need to have a symmetrical relationship. And my gut is like, oh, because you cheated, she gets as many cheats as you do. And it's possible that she was able to tolerate and forgive that, and you're incapable of forgiving that kind of thing, or incapable of tolerating it, and you may have to experience it to find that out.
Yeah, I have a couple of reactions. So I definitely see both perspectives. I think that it makes sense that maybe she, from her perspective, possibly it's hard for her to wholeheartedly commit to you, knowing that there's this asymmetry or inequity. And, you know, maybe she hasn't really 100% forgiven you. That's sort of what it seems to allude to me, where if this were totally a wash for her and she was honest with herself about forgiving you, she probably would be taking who you are now and what the relationship is now, 100% accepting of that and being in it and good to go and not feel like there's any residual tension or unevenness. So it's, I think from that perspective, I think it's understandable that she would want to have an experience outside of your relationship. And it's up to you to decide, is that at this point something that you're comfortable discussing? Because I think it should be a conversation and not like, okay, well, since we had to do this, then, go out and fuck whoever. Because that's going to breed an adversarial relationship between the two of you versus we're on the same team. How do we settle? How do we come to a solution that's best for everybody? But what's giving me a little bit of pause, and it's possible that this is just the way that you've interpreted it and worded it and not coming from her, but there's a couple of words in here specifically that trouble me a little bit.
Okay, what are those?
She's now saying that it's not fair that I got to experience other partners, and she's stuck with one. So that's her use of the word stuck is a little alarming. And then the other thing is, I love her to death, but she said, if I don't, then she'll leave. So it's possible. I'm not in your relationship. I have absolutely no idea, but it is possible that she is trying to create a reason or an excuse or a justification to distance herself from you or to get out of the relationship or to present a scenario that she knows you're not comfortable with, and then she can put it on you. I have no clue, but I feel it's my duty to share that possible interpretation. And so I think that it's really important for you guys to have an honest conversation. What is she really saying? Is she really saying that she also loves you to death, but feels that there's this inequity that's lingering? Or is she not being honest with you or herself about her commitment to this relationship? That's my best advice.
I want to recommend you guys look up some books on open relationships, like opening up or stepping off the relationship escalator. Because it's possible that you haven't had that option validated, but both of you, it seems like at different times, have wanted to sleep with other people, but still feel a sense of loyalty or desire for the other. And you're saying that you're ready to settle down and you got that out of your system. I have some skepticism about that will certainly last. I mean, that may be very true right now, but then your situation may change and that might not be a forever feeling. And if that comes back around again, you may just discover that you would like to experience those things with other people too.
Yeah.
So that's my big advice is check that out. See if that could work for you, some version of that.
Yeah, because I think that like one of the pitfalls, the big pitfalls of monogamy is the only way is that, it forces, it sets up this false dichotomy, I guess, between these two things that aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. Like, I have to give up this person who I love because I have this sexual desire that I'm wrestling with. The philosophy behind polyamory or ethical non-monogamy is that you don't have to wage that war. You don't have to choose one side. You can open up a loving conversation between the two of you about, okay, I'm having these feelings that are coming up, and they, in a traditional monogamous relationship, they conflict with my feelings towards you. But in reality, I don't think those things conflict or invalidate one another at all. I think it's both and. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, if you're both committed to staying in the relationship and building it and growing together, how do we resolve this problem? Same as you might approach, neither of us wants to do the dishes. How do we deal with splitting that responsibility or creating a win-win solution for both of us, where we both get to feel like our needs are met, we're being taken care of, we're getting to do the fun stuff, we're dealing with some of what's challenging about the prospect of, sleeping with other people, whatever. But we're dealing with it together. It's, you don't want to create a situation that's so rigid, I think, that she just goes out and fucks whoever because she's sick of it, and feels stuck. You don't want her to feel stuck in your relationship. I think ideally both partners feel, as you said to me once, Rob, the right balance between freedom and security. Mm-hmm. So find your balance together.
Yeah. And it works a lot better if you know what you want, and that is a very hard thing to know until you've experienced it. So there may be some trial and error or inevitable pain in this.
Yeah.
Because you might not know your boundary until it's crossed.
Yeah. I think it's important to point out that with all things in life, including, if not especially relationships, there is tremendous possible pleasure and tremendous possible pain. And so it's a willingness to accept that they can often come together. And I think that points to why it's so great to have a partner in this world, because you can divide the pain and divide the suffering and celebrate together and multiply the pleasure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I wish you the best with this difficult situation.
Thank you. I think that brings us to the end of our episode number 50 extravaganza. Right?
50, baby.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Halfway to 100.
Wow. Wow. We've lived half of our theoretical human lifespan as a podcast.
Which gets to 100, you think?
Which gets to 100, yeah.
You're expecting 100?
I'm expecting 100. For us, not necessarily for me in my lifetime, living 100 years.
For us? What do you mean?
For you and I to make it to episode 100.
Free advice. Oh, yeah. We're blowing past 100 on the way to 10,000. Look out, 10K.
And we
Thank
would
you
love
guys
to,
for listening.
Love to have you guys with us for that ride.
And how can they ensure that we get all the way to 10,000?
I don't know. That's a good question.
You're right. I guess they can't ensure it, but you can increase the odds. You can make it more likely by emailing us your dilemmas, questions,
comments,
conversation
feedback,
starters, would you rathers. We accept would you rathers at freeadvicepodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. We love you guys. Thanks for listening.
Don't let the bed bugs bite.